Okay, we are now live on YouTube.
Good evening, everybody. Due to the coronavirus and COVID-19 restrictions, this meeting is being held remotely, broadcast on YouTube, and can be viewed on the Macclesfield Town Council youtube.com channel. This is the Services Committee held on the 8th of February at 7 p.m. As always, in the words of our Mayor, please show kindness and consideration to each other. Item 1, apologies for absence, please. Do we have apologies for absence? Yes, Fiona? Councillor
Yes, we have
Wilson?
apologies from the Councillor Sarah Bennett-Wake.
Thank you. Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest by anyone? Yes, Councillor Pusick.
Thank you, Chair. For item 7.13 with the Barnaby Redux project, as I'm involved with other parts of the Barnaby Festival. And 7.1, even though it's a report, I'm part of the IDST Art Collective.
Thank you. So we'll now move on to public questions. And the first speaker is Colin Townend.
Hi, well, thank you for inviting me to the meeting. Just a little background, I set up a website, cyclemac.org, to encourage people to use bikes as a means of transport in Macclesfield, rather than just for recreational purposes. And I looked at where people could lock up their bikes if they were to come to town to shop in the town centre. And I found several places and put them on a map of where they all are, which is on the website. Ironically, the supermarkets, Sainsbury's, Tesco, the Co-op, all do offer cycle parking facilities. But in the town centre, it's striking that there's almost nowhere to lock a bike up, particularly in the traffic-free pedestrian area. I mentioned this at the meeting the other day, and Nick Mannion piped up that his daughter had told him that she doesn't ride her bike into town because she can't find anywhere to lock it up. I think you've seen the two-page report that I've put together, and I've shown on there 6 locations where these bike stands could go, and I've obtained a sample written quotation, which is for less than £2,500 for the total cost to supply 12 stands for these 6 locations. That's to supply and install them. I know there are more elegant cycle racks available at a higher cost, but I think cycle racks are functional devices, not sculpture. And it would be a shame if we failed to make this small provision for cycling because our ambitions exceed our means at the moment. I take the view that the best should not be the enemy of the good. Anyway, I hope you like the proposal, and I hope you'll authorise the clerk to liaise with highways, etc., and make the detailed arrangements that need to be put in place so that we can have something in place for the summer when hopefully the warmer weather will encourage people to leave their cars at home and come into town on bikes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Colin. And it is on our agenda later on for us to discuss your proposal. And so if you care to watch that, you will see what our comments and our decision is on that. And thank you ever so much for your report. Excellent. Thank you. So David Edwards, Councillor Edwards, if you wish to speak.
Thank you very much, Chair. There is an item on the agenda for electric vehicle charging points on page 43. I just wanted to say that I haven't got an awful lot to add to it. Excuse me. I did have a proposal from Osprey Charging that came in fairly late this afternoon. And I also have got their take on which are the best places for them and so on. Excuse me. I forwarded them to Laura, and what I would suggest is that we all inwardly digest them, and it comes back to full council if possible. I can't actually offer an awful lot. It's too much of a document to talk at great length about it, but it does look good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards, and we'll certainly be discussing that item later on. And again, you'll be able to watch on YouTube to see our deliberations. And thank you for coming along to the meeting.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
So if we can ask Colin and David if you leave the meeting, and then you can watch us on YouTube. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now we move on to item 3, which is the minutes of the Services Committee meeting held on the 23rd of November. Seems a long time ago. So do I have a proposer for those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Anyone second those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Wilcock. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. We'll now move on to matters arising from the minutes. Are there any matters arising? No, nobody wished to raise anything on matters arising. Okay, thank you. So item 5 is our Services Committee terms of reference. And you'll see we've had that in a table form covering the different terms. This is a document that was produced right at the start of being the council. And I would ask our clerk if she wishes to just make a comment on them.
So the terms of reference are in mainly to be updated. We have to periodically go through all of the governance documents and update them. I've looked through. I don't think there's anything in particular that needs updated. It may be just that we decide we've read through and update the date we reviewed it. But if you have anything you wish to bring forward that you think should be added or etc., I suppose this is the point for discussion.
Thank you. I think I don't see there is anyone. Oh, Councillor Wilson, are you indicating you wish to comment?
Well, I just wanted to be helpful, Chair, and say that I think they're very comprehensive. It's very useful to read them through as a refresher of the very wide range of issues that the Services Committee can deal with. And in the absence of anybody wanting to make any amendments, I would move that these are adopted as at February 2021 and forwarded to full council for final approval.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Yes, Councillor Puttick?
I'd like to second that, if that's all right.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So all those in favour of that proposal? That's it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so we'll now move on to item 6, which is the community. And our community and events manager will introduce and speak about this section. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So really 6.1 is community engagement update, and I just want to say thank you again to all of the groups that have supported the community in Macclesfield throughout the pandemic. They've worked tirelessly throughout the 11 months that we've just been through. So, and that continues, that's not stopping at all. So just thank you again for that. And also to mention that I'm now a part of the Macclesfield Food Network group. So I attend their meetings every 2 weeks. So I'm acting as a liaison between the town council and the food network. It's been really useful, the meetings that I've been to, in finding out what the issues are and also how the town is pulling together to meet those issues. So also just briefly mention that we ran a social media campaign for World AIDS Day on the 1st of December, which reached over 3,000 people, which was fantastic. So we're really pleased with that. And then 6.2, which is the CVSE proposal update. So just before Christmas, we put out a tender for £10,000 for service level agreement funding for the provision of services relating to supporting the voluntary and community and faith sector for the next financial year. We sought 3 quotes, we received 2, and these were evaluated by myself, the clerk and the mayor, who is also the town council communities champion. And CVS Cheshire East were the successful applicants for that. So that service level agreement began on the 1st of February, and we had a meeting today to kickstart that project, and they're going to provide fantastic support to our grant applicants, to local groups, looking at ways that we can encourage volunteering for events, for litter picks, for all sorts. So there's going to be lots going on in terms of community engagement over the next year.
Thank you ever so much, Helena. It's just fantastic news that, you know, to see the tremendous amount of work that's going on in Macclesfield, and how we've got all this networking around the different organisations. And I think people do appreciate the work that the town council is doing to support them. So well done to everybody, and particularly to yourself, Helena, because I know you do a lot of work there. So it's very much appreciated. Okay, thank you. So we move on now to item 7, which is the local service delivery. And certainly for 7.1, the events update, it's you again, Helena. So if you wish to just report on that.
Thank you, Chair. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give a brief overview of each event that we've got coming up, and that also we've got coming up in the new financial year. So 7.1 is the events update. So for Park Fit and Pram Fit, these are currently on hold as physical events, but we are running Park Fit as a virtual event twice a week, and that's proving to be, continuing to be popular and keeping people going throughout lockdown. So that's working well. I just wanted to provide an update on the festive weekend. Obviously, it didn't go ahead as planned. It was adapted. So the projection trail couldn't go ahead. It has now been rescheduled twice due to COVID restrictions and being in lockdown when it was due to take place. So that projection trail, we're looking at now moving that towards the end of the year. Because of daylight implications on the projections, we're looking at potentially October or November. Hopefully October half-term time, for something for people to do while they're off school. So we'll keep you posted on that one. The Advent Trail did go ahead, and that was really popular. In fact, by the end of it, we were having lots of businesses asking if they could be involved next year, which is great. So, and we had lots of positive feedback on that one. So we'll definitely be running that campaign again. Finally, in terms of the festive weekend, the Tree of Light installation was really well received. There were some initial issues with getting it up and running, but once it was up and running, it was fantastic. And I know myself from being around the town centre, the feedback that I was getting from people face to face was really good. We will be looking to return to the original Tree of Light template of putting the stars on the tree this year, because it is just so popular. And although the installation this year was engaging, the reach that we get with the stars is massive. We reach thousands of people, so we will be looking to return to that. And then just a quick update on Chinese New Year, which is going to be launching on Friday, which is the official Chinese New Year. So we're going to be having a virtual event, so we've got lots of videos planned for that, as well as an app, which with the app, you're going to be able to, a picture will pop up on social media of local businesses. You'll be able to scan that with the app that we're going to encourage people to download. And then as a result of that, you'll bring up a drawing that someone has drawn that lives in Macclesfield of an animal, a Chinese animal. And that animal will become animated, and you'll be able to do all sorts of quirky things with it. It's going to be loads of fun and hopefully make people smile when we really need it. So that will run for 12 days from Friday. So that's the update on events we're up to now. And I'm just going to quickly run through the events that we've got planned for the next financial year, just so people have a little overview. So we've got the Town Crier competition coming up, hopefully this year. It had to be postponed last year, but have spoken to the Town Crier and we're looking at running that again at a Treacle Market this year. The Macclesfield Bike-a-thon is, we had a meeting about that, myself and the Events Communications Officer with the organisers on Friday, and it is going to go ahead this year. We're looking at moving it to later on, so potentially September, October. So we're just confirming the date, but it will be going ahead, even it has to happen in a socially distanced way. Macclesfield Family Fun Day. So this is the event that in the past has taken place at the football club and the rugby club. So I've spoken to the organisers about that. We're going to have a meeting about it, but again, they are hoping to go ahead this year. I think as soon as events are permitted to go ahead, there's going to be loads going on for people to do, which is great. The Eco Summit. So this is the event that we're organising in partnership with Macclesfield. So this is due to take place in May. And this week, we are due to distribute some questions for research. Now, the outcome of that research will formulate the workshops that we put on for the Eco Summit. And the Eco Summit will be open to everybody. Everybody can attend. And the research will be, again, circulated to as many people as possible via social media and press releases. Okay, so next we've got the street party packs. So myself and the Events and Communications Officer are looking at putting together some packs to aid people in celebrating National NHS Awareness Day, which is on July the 5th. So we're looking at ways in which people can celebrate that and really thank the NHS for what they've done for us over the last year. But they can celebrate on the weekend leading up to that. So we're going to put packs together and distribute them out to the various different wards in Macclesfield so people can celebrate as a community. And next, we've got the Town Hall Key Worker and Thank You event. So we are looking ahead to better days when we can celebrate the end, hopefully, of the pandemic and what it brings with it. So we are going to be looking at a big celebration at the Town Hall, led by the Mayor, and inviting some key people who've helped us in this fight from the local town. Then we've got MacPow, which is the Comic Art Festival. We have supported this event in the past and planning on doing the same again this year. Again, that's likely to be moved towards the end of the year. It does attract people from far and wide. It's a great event for the town, this one. So to bring people back in and aid the town centre recovery, it's a really positive event. Okay, so then we've got the Macclesfield Food Festival, which we're looking at taking place at the moment. Provisional date is the 11th of September. That's what we're working towards. Again, hopefully bringing people back in, aiding that town centre recovery. Excuse me. And then we're hoping to run an Older Persons Day event, which we weren't able to run a physical event last year, sorry. So we're hoping to do that again in partnership with Age UK and Live at Home. And then we've got the Welly Walk and Nature Needs You event, which is always really popular. So again, promoting outdoor play. We'll be running that hopefully on the 9th of October in West Park. And then we're also looking at running a Remembrance Day projection. So something really quite special this year to celebrate that. We won't be able to have the parade last year, but a projection in the town centre, which could be really exciting. So, and also we're looking at running an older person's Christmas party. So the older person's events that we've run in the past have been really popular. So we're looking at doing that, especially as people come out of isolation and start to socialise again. And then I have penciled in a potential another light projection trail. Now with the one that we've had to reschedule moving to later on in the year, it might be that we decide not to do that and we decide to look at another large scale event, which is absolutely fine. Or we could decide to do another projection maybe in the early spring after Christmas. So that'll be open to us for discussion. And also then we look ahead to Chinese New Year next year. So we've not had this year's one yet, but next year, which we plan to celebrate face to face, hopefully, with a parade again. And also we'd like to bring back the Youth Summit. I think it'll be more important than ever to listen to the young people of the town and how COVID's affected them and what they'd like to see coming out of COVID. So that will be on next year's events calendar. So that's it in summary. So yeah, I'm sure you're sick of hearing me talk now.
Thank you ever so much, Helena. I mean, whistle stop tour, but I mean, fantastic how much is going on. And just to say for people, you know, have a look on our Facebook page, have a look at the Town Council website. There's lots happening and lots to find out about. So that was excellent, Helena, really, really good. We can see, you know, there's so much going on. It's very positive. And I think everyone that's looking in would agree with that, you know, that we're doing a great job in the town, I think. Trying to do our best anyway to help people. So thank you. 7.2, Silk Monument. I think Laura, Town Clerk.
Yes, I'll defer to Councillor Wilson because she is going to Northern Planning on Wednesday, and Councillor Wilson will be speaking. So,
thank you, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Laura. The planning application to consider the erection of the monument, otherwise known as the bobbin, because it's a depiction of a silk bobbin, is going to the Northern Planning Committee on the 10th of February, which is this Wednesday. I'll be representing the Town Council to explain the background to it, the reasons that we would like Northern Planning Committee to support the application. It's a very important part of our heritage, the silk route, and also the bobbin will bring, when we are able to, much needed tourism to the town as part of our town centre recovery plan. There were one or two issues over a misunderstanding that the bobbin was being donated by People's Republic of China. That was interpreted as being a donation from the Chinese government, and as we already know from the discussions we've had at both full council on this committee, that isn't the case. So I'm very pleased to say that there has been an update from the planning officer who's issued a supplementary report to say that we've clarified that the funding, the donation of the monument is being made by the artist J.J. Shi, who's chair of the UK Chinese Arts Association. I think it's very important that in the information we produce surrounding the monument itself, subject to planning permission, we do go into in detail both the positive and the concerning aspects of the silk manufacturing trade. Clearly, some commentators on this planning application are concerned about human rights in China and also slavery in terms of the building of the silk route and silk manufacturing. But on the plus side, silk manufacturing is one of the very bases of the importance of the historical character of our own town. So I think, you know, when we do come to advertise the bobbin once it's erected, I think we do need to make sure we cover all of those issues and the history is reported correctly, looking at the pros and concerns about the silk manufacturing and the silk trade. But I'm very pleased to be able to report that we have been able to clarify that this is a gift from the Chinese UK Cultural Arts Centre, which whose work is to promote art in both China and in the UK, and hopefully assuage some of the concerns of individuals who think it was a gift from the Chinese government, which it clearly isn't. So I'm looking forward to representing the council on Wednesday and reporting back to you that the planning committee has supported the application. And so if anyone's got any questions, hopefully things will go according to plan on Wednesday.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wilson. So we'll await the decision from that and see what happens. Thank you. Item 7.3, Silk Heritage Visits and Engagement. Yes, Laura.
Again, I think this follows on a lot from flows from getting the planning permission for the monument and then working out how, as Councillor Wilson says, we promote it and the history of it, etc. So we have some ideas of of what we might produce to promote it, booklets, trails, etc. But that will go hand in hand with after we've got planning permission and got the monument in situ.
Okay, thank you. And we next move on to the Western Community Centre to have just a brief update on the
Yes.
centre up there.
The only update I've got is that we've not heard anything of antisocial behaviour recently, and we've invoiced them for the rent. So that's the only updates we've got at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Then we move on to the Christmas lights. Yes, Helena.
Thank you, Chair. So just to update everybody that the Christmas lights were installed and maintained by Light again this year. And we are approaching the end of our contract with Light. So we do have another Christmas with them, and then we need to re-tender. So that tender will be going out this summer, ready for not this Christmas, but the following Christmas. So it's just to update everybody to be aware of that.
Right, thank you. Thank you for that. 7.6 floral displays. Yes, Town Clerk.
So as you will all be aware, as many viewers may now be aware, our lovely Town Ranger Aid left on Friday. So we've got two great guys, Sean and Alan, are in and looking after the town, keeping it clean. The floral displays at the moment, the hanging baskets are due to go in much later in the year. So there's not too much with the floral displays at the moment, but everything's in place to decide. We just need to decide, and I was in talks with Aid about this, whether we want to go peat free in the hanging baskets and things like that. So we're just in some discussions with ANZA on how, whether that's a good move. And we'll also have to discuss other things like Britain in Bloom and stuff as we go along with the committee.
Yes. Is there any urgency to make a decision now? We can leave it until next services, or possibly even full council?
I think from memory, we've got till April to decide if we want to go in this year. So it's probably a little too soon to decide.
Yes. Okay, well, just looking down the agenda, the next services committee meeting is the 12th of April. So we could ensure that we make those decisions at the next services. I think that would be appropriate. Gives us time to study any reports and further discussions. So thank you. It's just useful to have that heads up though.
Yeah.
Laura, thank you. So then we move on to the public toilets, always a keen item on the agenda, I'm sure. Yes, Laura, yes.
Myself and our solicitor are still looking to get we're still pushing the Exchange Street owner and trying to get in touch with their solicitor. So it's all still in progress, basically. It's just a bit of slow progress, really, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. 7.9 Wally Hayes tree lights. Yes, Helen, are you going to report on that?
Yeah, yeah, we'll do that. So, have we? Don't know if we've done 7.8, which is festoons, which is sort of relates to the same.
Yes, sorry, festoons. Yes, festoons, and then the Wally Hayes tree lights.
Yeah, I'll run through them both. So, yeah. Starting off with the 7.8, which is festoons. Just to update that the festoons which were torn down on Chestergate during the incident with the lorry, they've now been replaced. The lights which we did decide to replace at the King's Head end of Chestergate, we have put that on hold for now because we are struggling to get permissions for the anchor bolts which are necessary for the lights, and also we have found out that that site is now under new ownership. So to prevent us from putting them up and then having to take them down again, we are just waiting to see what that situation is before we go ahead. So it's just been paused for now. But also pleased to say that the back wall gate festoons were installed just in time for Christmas, and they went down really well on social media and they look fantastic. So that's a real positive. Okay, so I'll run straight on to Wally Hayes tree lights. So there are 9 trees with cherry LEDs located at the Wally Hayes car park. Now, these were reported to myself and the clerk around November time as being out, and have been out for quite some time. So we asked Light to go and investigate, and they found out that a parking meter had been installed where the original supply for these lights came from. So basically what we need to do is install a new supply. So to do that, it requires some work, which is to the cost of £1,700 plus VAT. And before we can ask Light to install that, we will need to get permission from Cheshire East Council. So what we're asking the committee to do tonight is to consider whether it's something that they would like to do. And if so, then we will seek the necessary permissions, but it is a cost of £1,700 plus VAT.
Thank you. I mean, I must admit that those lights down at that far end of Chestergate by the traffic lights there have been really welcomed by the businesses and the residents at that end of town. It's a sort of gateway into the town, and it's really lifted that area. And I'm thinking about the businesses that have come in down there, and it's becoming quite or before the pandemic anyway, it was becoming quite a lively area in the town, and obviously will do again. So I would hope that the council would want to ensure that we can continue with them. I listen to any other comments, please? Yes, Councillor Puttick.
Thank you, Chair. It was just to suggest that maybe we could also be mindful of discussions about EV charging and other use of electricity on Cheshire East highways and car parks, because I mean, as we're probably going to see in a moment, there's huge demand for sort of or there's a lot of discussion to be had about potential from this. So I mean, if we were to move forward with this, I'd be interested to see whether we could start further discussions. So I just thought I'd add that.
Yes. Well, you know where the lights are, of course, Councillor Puttick. They're sort of on the other side. They're not in the car park. They're at the junction. But I think that's a very good point, that we can use that as a way in to then open up a discussion for that car park to see if we could get some charging points, maybe at that bottom end of the car park. So I think that's a very good suggestion. Councillor Wilson, you wanting to come in?
Yes, thank you, Chair. In the absence of any other comments, I was going to move that we agree to spend £1,700 plus VAT on setting up a replacement supply for the festoon lights on Wally Hayes car park and the bottom end of Chestergate, and that we seek permission, seek approval from Cheshire East Council to go ahead with the work. And hopefully that will be forthcoming, because it appears that it's Cheshire East Council that have taken over the supply for a car parking machine. So it's very much to be hoped that permission will be given. But I move the expenditure in the Cheshire East Council approach.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. And are you seconding, Councillor Puttick?
Yeah, seconding that, and just if possible to just if Councillor Wilson is okay with it, just to agree that council officers' time is, you know, consider the future for EV, or, you know, for other potential uses for it.
Councillor Wilson, are you happy to add that in as another consideration?
I mean, I think it would be sensible in putting in an additional supply for us to, at this stage, make sure that within the price we've been quoted, it's possible to also run some EV charging points from this supply. And if that is possible, I would very much accept that as an amendment, Chair, yes. But it might increase the cost, so we just need to be wary of that.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's perfectly
in principle,
correct.
I completely, apologies. In principle, I completely agree.
Yeah. I think if it comes within the budget, then that isn't an issue at all. And I think it's very, very sensible to ask for that. But if it is going to increase the price, then I think we have to just stay with the lights for the moment, and then look at the charging points as another further strategy, not only on that car park, but on other car parks. Okay, so all those in favour with that proposal? Yes, that's everyone. Thank you. So we'll move on then to we're definitely on a roll with the lights at the moment, aren't we? 7.10, the Chestergate tree lights. Helena.
Thank you, Chair. So basically, the existing tree lights on the Chestergate trees are now 4 years old, and we've had quite a few incidences lately where they keep tripping out. And so it's obviously it's leaving the lights out, which is not great. So we asked Light to investigate again, and they basically said that the lights that were chosen 4 years ago were suitable for the size of the trees at the time, but because the trees have grown, then they're basically snapping the various connections. So it's looking like they need some more heavy duty lights. So this does come at a cost. To replace these lights for the more appropriate light and weight, it does come at cost in total £12,150. So that's the cost. So we're looking to the committee to decide if they would like to go ahead and replace those lights for the more substantial ones.
Thank you. I mean, personally, I think that the tree lights through the town definitely add greatly to the atmosphere, and also I think the feeling of safety and security that people have when they're walking through the town. So I would certainly like to see this item go ahead if possible, but I'd like to hear other comments from councillors. Anyone wish to speak on it? I'm quite happy to move the motion that we go ahead and spend.
Councillor Wilcox indicated, Chair.
Yeah. Yes, Laura. Can't hear you.
Councillor Wilcox had his hand up. I don't know if you could see him.
No, well, I don't know. He's got another. I don't know. He's got something there at the bottom of his screen. I don't quite know what it is.
A little pin, yeah.
A little pin. Sorry, Councillor Wilcox. I did not see your hand. Sorry.
No problem at all, Chair. Just like to ask Communications and Events Managers just a quick question. Obviously, the bulbs that were installed 4 years ago are now are not suitable. Have we any idea going forward how long the new bulbs would last for? Just going forward, because obviously, you know, I understand £12,000 is quite a lot of money. As has been mentioned, the lights do bring a lot of positive feedback for the town. Could we be in 4 years' time looking to spend another 12 or however much £1,000, just as a question, or will these last for a substantial amount of time more?
I'll make one comment, Councillor Wilcox, that within the report it does say they're guaranteed for 5 years, but I don't know how much further than that we would expect. Yes, Helena, and then Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to say to Councillor Wilcox about the 5-year warranty on the lights, but I can look into that. I can look into the potential lifespan. That's not a problem. I can find that out.
Yes, Councillor Wilson. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, the lights we're replacing are 4 years old and are in need of replacement. So the fact that these now new lights we're looking at are going to have a 5-year guarantee is an improvement. It's going in the right direction. And I think really, if you look at the lifespan of these lights being 5 years, it puts the total cost of £12,150 into context, because it's an investment we're making for the next 5 years. So I'm happy to move, Chair, that we do invest £12,150 in updating and improving the Chestergate tree lights, on the basis that we have very, very positive feedback from all our residents about the lights. It's one of the things that we do get a lot of feedback from. It improves the appearance of the town centre. From a recovery point of view, we're going to want to encourage people to come back into the town. And this is an area of Macclesfield where, you know, we will be wanting people to come and visit many of the attractions that are there. And so I am happy to move the recommendation and the cost of £12,150. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Shenton, yes.
I'm happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you, Finn. Okay, so all those in favour of that proposal? Yes, that's everyone. Thank you. So we move on to 7.11, which is the Tunnicliffe Art Trail. And Jill isn't at the meeting tonight, and she's the officer who's dealing with this. But I've been working with her on it, and it was actually an idea that I presented to the council to have this trail. And you'll see from the report that we have 11 images that will be placed around the town. We have a map which shows where each of the images will be placed, and we have pictures of all the images, the different paintings, so we can see how it will look. And we also have a table that is telling us at what stage each of the sites is at. And quite a few, they have written consent has been received for each of the paintings to go up on their business's wall, or, you know, the site that they're intended for. But we do have some still outstanding, and this is the issue really, is just that it is taking some time. I know we always keep blaming COVID and the virus, but it does cause difficulty, and we do have some landlords who don't live locally, you know, in London or elsewhere. So it has been difficulties getting hold of the owners of the buildings. But it is progressing, it is moving on. We did originally start with 14 images and 14 sites, but some of those have proved impossible. And so we are now down to the 11. But I would hope that we will come through with the permissions, and we will then have a trail with the 11 images available, and produce a map, a walking trail around them all. It will help with tourism, promoting the town, and also promoting our museum and the local culture and heritage. Charles Tunnicliffe is a famous artist, and it's lovely to see his paintings and to have them hopefully hung outside around the town rather than, you know, inside. Although what I will say as well, after completing the trail, you can then, and it will lead you down to the museum area of town, you can then go into the museum and see the real thing. So, you know, it connects well. So we're very pleased with it. And I'm just hoping that it won't be too long before it will be up and running properly. So there's no decision to be made. It's just a report on that to let people know how that's coming along. So the next item is EV chargers. Laura, have you anything further you wish to say?
As Councillor Edwards spoke earlier, the push for EV chargers we've seen at our recent town council event we held, that there's a real push for it, and Macclesfield are one of the only towns in Cheshire East who has no public EV chargers. Cheshire East are finishing off a strategy, which is Cheshire East wide, which should be available for March 2021. However, we have recently seen our friends at Bollington Town Council lease a piece of land, and are going to use that piece of land to put 6 chargers on. So we have recently written to Cheshire East to see if it is possible we could do something similar, to see if we could lease perhaps a few parking spaces in one of the car parks. And then, as Councillor Edwards mentioned, he'd been in touch with somebody to potentially put EV chargers in. Obviously, as this progresses, we'd go through a whole tender process, but it was just to give us an idea, actually, that there is many companies out there that will put the chargers in for you at no cost. They make the cost back by charging for the electricity. So I guess that's where we're up to, really. Lots of interest, lots of residents email me regularly about it, and at the moment waiting to see if Cheshire East would lease us a few spaces so we could at least have a start and have some in the town centre for Macclesfield.
Well, let's hope we might have something further to report on that at our next meeting in April. Yeah, we would hope we would get some movement on that. Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want to say, really, to reiterate what the town clerk has just said, what an important project this is for Macclesfield. It's come up so much in talking to residents in the town centre recovery working group, open forums. We've had 2 of those now, and it is something that, as the town clerk has said, we have no publicly accessible charging points in Macclesfield. I know Councillor Edwards has done a lot of work to get more information on this, including asking questions at the Cheshire East Cabinet. And I very much hope that, as you say, Chair, we can either consider this at our Services Committee meeting in April, or maybe if there's a quick response from Cheshire East about the feasibility study, it would be very good if we could actually have something to consider at full council next month. Because I think time is of the essence with this. I very much look forward to the day when we can have some EV charging points in Macclesfield. And the council made the point earlier, if we think this in our planning processes, for example, Wally Hayes is a car park where you would put some EV charging points. And if we're doing some work there on the electrics to assist with the Chestergate festoon lights, it makes sense to try and do these things together. So I think really, whilst we're working towards having some formal proposals, which I hope we can do as a non-cost element in terms of the provision of the electrical services, I think that it would be absolutely great to be able to celebrate having some EV charging points in Macclesfield. I'm glad we're making some progress.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Wilson. So we'll hope that Cheshire East will get a bit of a move on for us, and we can take that forward. Okay. 7:13 is the Barnaby Festival item. Helena, are you taking this one?
Hi, yeah, I'll begin with this one. So it was agreed at the last full council to award Barnaby Festival £10,000 additional funding as part of their Redux project. So they were awarded £5,000 initially, and the report they've submitted for this meeting to be considered is for the additional £5,000. So it details out what they'll do for that £5,000 and how they'll engage with the community on their community art installations. So it's for the committee to consider if they would like to award that additional £5,000.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I know that the town clerk's also been in contact with them because of our concerns over the detail in the report and Barnaby's being able to answer our questions or coming back with the sort of information that we really wanted to see. So do you have anything to report, Laura, before we discuss it?
The main updates are that at the last full council, the timeline, they've been able to produce it by this Barnaby. They've now put dates in that will be delivered by next year. I think the understanding that I think that the council see it as being a community project that the community can be engaged with, and perhaps have a hands-on element to it. So I'm not sure how completely that comes across for councillors, and I think it would be good. I've talked to them quite a bit, so it'd be good for your views, is because I might sort of not be coming from the same place because I've read it that many times. So it would be good if there's anything you think is missing, I could go back to them and clarify for you. I think might be the best way. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. I do have some further questions really that I would like answering before I would feel able to make a decision on this on the remainder of the funding. If you remember, at full council, I did move that we I moved that we made a payment of £5,000 and a grant to get the project started and for further information to come forward. And there is some more information I feel I would need before making a decision to award the remainder of the £10,000 grant, i.e. the extra 5,000. On the two documents we have in front of us, we've got a project timeline, we've got a budget proposal, and I'm not clear whether there are 3 public artworks or 4. Under the project timeline, it talks about 3 public artworks developed through micro commissions and a major artwork which is dependent on the success of Arts Council England funding. And under the budget, it talks about micro commissioning to realise a programme of 4 new artworks. So I'm not sure whether it's 3 artworks or 4 artworks that we are looking at. And the original discussion at full council, one of the elements of the proposal that actually appealed to me was that one of the artworks was going to be outside the town centre. I think it's important to have artworks in the town centre to attract people back to our town centre as part of our recovery plan. But I also think, Macclesfield is a Macclesfield Town Council covers 7 wards of Macclesfield, and to have an artwork outside the town centre, I think it's important to engage people with artworks in the centre. I can't see any reference to that in these papers. There's a mention of a recruiter. There's a mention of recruiting a coordinator role. There's also a mention of an artist and also a producer. I think the producer probably is the coordinator role. So I think it's 2 roles rather than 3. And I fully accept that people doing work have to be appropriately remunerated for the work they are doing. I have absolutely no quibble with that, of course. But out of the £10,000 grant, £6,000 of that is going on 2 posts to organise the events, the consultations, and I'm not clear how much of the 10,000 is actually being spent on the artwork. And I would like to see I'd like to be clearer that the project is more community-led. I'd also like to be clear about the Arts Council England funding, because as a town council, we wouldn't make a grant where it was conditional upon other funding unless we knew that funding was actually available. So as a general point, nothing to do with this particular grant application, but as a rule, we don't award funding if some part of that funding is still at risk or at doubt. So those are the questions I would like to have answered before making a final decision on this. Obviously, I'll wait to hear what others have got to ask, but I would like a bit more information, please, Chair, before I would feel able to vote for a further £5,000 to be awarded. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wilson. I must admit I agree with you there, and I think it may well be that our option here would be to defer this item for further information. How do other councillors feel about that? Are there any other comments from? Yes, Councillor Shenton. I want to call you Finton. I don't know why.
It says that later
Councillor
in the,
Shenton.
agenda. I'm called Councillor Finton and later on for some reason. I don't know why. I forgot what the question was now. Oh yeah. Is there any? Have you said about any urgency on this payment, or is there no sort of time scale on that front?
The project will be delivered by due to tie in with the Barnaby Parade of June 2022. It was originally to be delivered by this Barnaby, but you know, we're in February. We didn't want to set somebody up with funding that they probably couldn't achieve it by then. So there isn't as much urgency, considering that we've got till next year to do it. But I suppose the sooner the better you start consulting, etc. So I think it could wait till full council.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Shenton. Anyone else want to make any comment? Well, I'd like to propose from the chair that we defer this item for further information, either for full council or the next services, whichever we have the information in time for, really, I would say, because we've got full council at the end of March, we've got services second or so week in April. So I think then it's up to them how they bring it back to us. But I would suggest that, and I'd move that as a proposal. Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I second that. I think it's a very sensible proposal. The 29th of March is the next full council meeting, so there shouldn't be an inordinate delay if we can get the answers to the questions we're asking. And there is a sort of fallback position of the 12th of April if necessary. So very happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so all those in favour with that? Yeah, that's thank you. That's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Right, yes, Councillor Puttick, back with us now. Thank you. So next we go on to 8, which is leisure and outdoor activities. And we've got item 8.1, the Windmill Street play area. Helena?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so just really to say that, as people know, there have been some significant delays with this project. So a site meeting did take place towards the end of the year to try and better understand what the delays were and to try and clarify them. And since then, I have contacted ANSWER to try and find out if those delays have been resolved and everything has been completed. I've not heard anything back as yet, but I don't know if the clerk has heard anything in addition to that. So I know the clerk was looking to arrange another meeting to try and sort out why the delays were still ongoing.
Yes, Laura.
If I can just add that it has been arranged to have a meeting with ANZA on a regular basis where we can discuss all the parks together, because we're having other parks and play parks built. So we're going to look to have 6 weekly, 2 monthly meetings with Ruth Morgan and with the officers at ANZA, so we can talk through all of this, because I think part of it is just communication, that things change and we don't know that they've changed, and there's a good reason for them to change, but we just didn't know. So hopefully going forward that should break down a lot of the communication barriers.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson, you wanted to come in there?
Yes, just wanted to agree and endorse what Laura's said. I think the opportunity now for us to meet with ANSWER on a 6 weekly basis, and that's, you know, councillors who are engaged in various things. There's not a fixed attendance, obviously the town clerk will represent us, but I think with Windmill Street there are still outstanding items, so we do need a site visit, but we need to keep talking you know, about the developments there, and also I mean, on Macclesfield South Ward as well. There's a park at Franklin Close and Rotherhead Drive area that's been rather badly vandalised recently, and that has been reported in a request for a service level agreement, because this is about parks that are already there as well as parks that we're developing. So I do welcome the meeting with ANSA and look forward to getting some regular dialogue so we can continue to deal with issues that are affecting our parks, which at the moment are even more important to the residents and the children of our wards because of the ability to be able to play outside. So I think I look forward to being able to meet with ANSA to discuss a number of these issues, both looking at the parks we have already and looking forward to the new parks we're establishing.
Thank you. 8.2, Herdsfield and Amber Cross play areas. Helena, yes, thank you.
Right, so the Lanark Walk play area, which is in the Upton area, that equipment has now been ordered. It was ordered just before Christmas. So delivery is expected mid-February and installation is expected to take place in March. And I think ANSA have engaged quite a lot with the local councillors for that ward, as Councillor Wilcock, I think you've been involved as well. But obviously the 6 weekly meetings are going to be really key to the success of that as well. As well as the Banbury Close play area, which I know there's a master plan being created for that. I know they are consulting quite heavily with the community and the local councillors on that play area as well. But again, those regular meetings are going to be really valuable in getting that one to completion as well.
Thank you, Helena. 8.3 South Park Pavilion, just to report back on that. As people are aware, the Town Council is looking to transfer that asset to ourselves from Cheshire East. And so talks with Cheshire East are continuing to agree the planning class use of the pavilion and also at what stage the lease will start. Searches are being undertaken and we expect the heads of terms to be agreed before too long now. And we may well have a report back at next full council on that one. So that's progress, it's progressing along steadily, and that will be our first asset transfer from Cheshire East, but certainly not the last. Okay, thank you. 8.4 Rugby Drive. Yes, Laura.
Yeah, it's just an update. Again, Councillor Edwards has been working very hard on this. We've had meetings with officers to discuss what S106 money is left and how it can be spent. And there has been overtures made towards potentially the Town Council transferring the Rugby Drive. However, we would be keener to transfer, I would suggest we'd be keener to transfer when the clubhouse is built and the S106 money is spent rather than pre that. But Councillor Edwards is on the case and he will fill us in as it progresses, because there's been a few issues around cost of fencing and drainage and etc. So he's working in the background with ANSA to push it along.
Okay, thank you. 8.5 Playing Out. Yes, Helena.
Thank you. So just going back to something really that Councillor Wilson mentioned with the Windmill Street play area, how important it is for children to be able to play outside now more than ever. And this project, we were trying to get it up and running before COVID hit, and unfortunately we weren't able to do so in time, but it's never been far from my mind. So I had a meeting with Playing Out themselves a few weeks ago to talk about how we can launch this as we get out of COVID. And we did discuss getting together the interested groups. So the plan is to pilot the project in the south area of Macclesfield and the Herdsfield area of Macclesfield. So the plan is to get together those interested volunteers to have some training from Playing Out, and Playing Out have offered to provide that training completely free online as well. So I'm just getting together some dates for that. And also, once we've done that, we're in a position then to do the traffic management training. Now, this has been the hold up. So the traffic management training has to be delivered face to face, because of the nature of practicing what you need to do and everything. So that's going to be our delay. So we're planning to deliver the Playing Out training in May, and then we're looking to deliver the traffic management training as soon as possible as we can after that, so that we don't lose the momentum and so that we're able to continue it through. And we're hoping to be able to pilot a few play streets before the autumn. So that's the aim. So that's just the update on that. Yeah.
Right, thank you, Helen. Well, yes, let's hope that can be progressed through, and we can get, you know, some of the decent summer weather for the children to be outside and playing out. So that's great. Thank you very much. So the next item, 8.6, is the allotments update. Yes, Laura.
So Gillian has prepared the allotments report, but obviously she's not here tonight. But Gillian has worked incredibly hard on arranging for allotments to be cleared and to be relet. I think we've relet 5 now on Knowsley Road, and we're getting ready for another 2 on Park Grove. She's completed an allotment course, which she said was incredibly useful. And yeah, we're just moving forward and getting more cleared and let out for the community.
Thank you. Any other reports on any of the other allotment areas? Is there anything that you wish to just say? Thinking for the benefit of our viewers, really, you know, because we have other allotments, don't we?
Yeah, most of them tick along themselves and are managed by themselves, and well self-managed. We have recently just done some work on Birtles Road, where we've had all the trees tidied up and looked after and made sure they're healthy. And as I say, Park Grove, which is on part of South Park, that was particularly bad. Jill's done a great job of getting that back together, and we're just going to measure them out and then get people off the waiting list. And then we also currently run Knowsley Road, which we are hoping at some point in the future could be self-managed when appropriate, really. But that's the aim, that all of the allotments can be self-managed and benefit the community, really. So
yes, yeah. Well, it's really good. It's a work in progress, and things are moving on. And so thanks to Jill and yourself for the hard work that you're putting in. Yes, Councillor Wilcock.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a quick question to the Town Clerk. We were discussing about some land at the back of the Birtles Road allotments that are held by Everybody Leisure. I just wondered if there's any updates on that being potentially transferred over to the Town Council to increase allotments.
Unfortunately, I haven't got any update that would. I regularly email for updates, and I haven't got an update. But yes, the aspiration for the Town Council is still there to take that land. It's just unpicking it. I think because Everybody Leisure have it in their lease, Cheshire East have to get it out of their lease and then transferred to us. So I'm still doing it, but it's a slow process, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you for that, Laura. Right, we'll move on to 8.7, which is street sports. Another one I think we're on hold with at the moment. Yes, Helena.
Sorry, I was just going to update the same and just say it's on hold until we're out of lockdown.
Yeah, okay, thank you. 8.8, the Premier League kicks. Yes, Helena.
Yeah, so this project is managed by our project officer. It's in partnership with the Community Sports Trust to refer children from schools into a project to enable them to play football and be trained in football at no cost to themselves. So this project, again, it's on hold at the moment due to being in lockdown, so there is no update on that.
Okay, thank you. So now we move on to item 9, which is street scene. So we start with 9.1, the public realm furniture. Yes, Alana.
Thank you. Yeah, so really just to say that the town centre bins that were approved a while ago at Services Committee, the company were in a position to go ahead now, but we needed to seek an additional 2 quotes. So the ranger, the senior town ranger, sought the initial quote, and we're just seeking some quotes for comparison before we can go ahead with that purchase.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. A 9.2 town ranger. We have a report from our senior town ranger. Obviously, the final report he made before he left us, and we are really sorry to see him go. We didn't want to lose him, but he's been called to a better place as far as he's so wanted to go back into serving in the front line with the medical services, paramedics, and he just wanted to give his bit. You know, he wanted to do what he could for the local people and the health of the local people. So we really admire him, and but we're very sorry that we've lost him. But there we go. I'm hoping that at some point we may see him back with us again, but for the moment he wants to do his bit to help the local community. So anybody want to say anything about the report? I mean, Laura, do you have anything you want to update?
No, just to reiterate, as I said before, we've got two great rangers helping us out now, and how much we will miss Aid, and it not just the work he did, but obviously the positivity and passion. He was a pleasure to work with.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes, it's but he's going to stay in touch, I hope, so that will be good. Okay. 9.3 notice boards. Oh dear, the notice boards. How are we doing with the notice boards, Laura?
So the notice boards at the moment are we're still working with Cheshire East to try and work out levies and charges that have appeared for certain items of things. However, Councillor Wilcott and I, Councillor Wilcott really has been identifying other places notice boards could go that didn't involve having to ask Cheshire East or pay licenses, and we think we've identified a couple on the Upton. So we're going to pursue that, and hopefully that'll, you know, other councils will then, you know, be able to come forward and have ideas of where maybe they can do that too. So we're just waiting for a couple of permissions, aren't we, Councillor Wilcock, and then we can purchase a notice board and get them up.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thanks very much, Laura, for that update, and pursuing this issue as determinedly as you have. And also congratulations to Councillor Wilcock on finding some sort of private owned locations for notice boards. That's something I think we're all looking at the moment, but in some wards that isn't going to be possible. I do really once again express my concern about this sudden appearance of levies for work which we had previously done without levy. I know we've raised it in various different places to try to get an explanation, which so far hasn't really been forthcoming. So at the same time as we are doing the work on the notice boards, I would like us to write as a council to the Chief Executive and the Finance Director of Cheshire East Council to help us to understand why the levies were introduced, when they were introduced, and who agreed the introduction of those levies. I think we should pursue this at the senior level within Cheshire East Council. So I would therefore ask that we do that. I see everyone's nodding, so if you want me to move and seek a seconder, I will do. Happy to move that. But I do think we need to get to the bottom of this, because the levies being charged, the funds we could spend on additional services and support for the community, rather than on a levy. And I'm just at a loss to understand why we're in this situation. And I think we could do with an explanation so we can factor in and plan for the future if it's going to be something we've got to do. But we need, I think, an explanation as to why this keeps coming up. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes, if we formally move that, which you have done, Councillor Wilson. Do I have a seconder? Yes, Councillor Puttick.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, happy to second it. I just think that it does need mentioning, that particularly because when we've been investigating it, I, for example, look across the road to Goresworth Parish and say, well, have they paid for their notice boards? So what's the difference between one side of the road and the other? And particularly for a council, a young council like ourselves, which is, there's some very crucial aspects to this. Very similar to the idea of parks and the fact that we can actually, you can see people waiting to use parts of Windmill Park. It's the same with notice boards. These are vital for our community, arguably for things like democracy and actually making sure that everybody gets the information they need. A levy could actually be sort of obstructing a lot of quite a few people's access to vital information. So I just think that happy to second it, and I think that we should get in touch with people at the highest level to find out who's been making these decisions, really. So yeah.
Yep, good. Right. So all those in favour of that proposal? That's unanimous. Thank you. So we'll get that those letters off to communications off to Cheshire East and see if we can get a response in a reasonable amount of time and not have to keep chasing, which is unfortunate, but it's what we seem to be having to do at the moment. Middlewood Way lighting, 9.4. I think, Laura, you wanting to speak on it? And I know Councillor Wilson wants to in a minute.
I'll just do a very brief update that we've got the price now. So we have an overall price, no breakdown yet, and it comes in at £32,030. And I'll hand over to Councillor Wilson because she's working on this.
Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thanks, Laura. Just a quick run down memory lane with this. We took a decision as a full council in July 2019 that we would seek to relight the Middlewood Way because we'd had a lot of feedback from residents and users of the Middlewood Way, that the removal of the lighting columns and the lighting system there had rendered it unable to be used after dark. It's an excellent route from Bollington all the way through into Macclesfield and was being used a lot by people to walk into Macclesfield, part of the active travel management programme and cyclists, etc. And we took the view that Cheshire East Council, it's a Cheshire East Council path, it belongs to Cheshire East Council, and we initially asked Cheshire East Council if they would pay to restore the lights. Now they're not able to do that, and I think it's important to recognise that we understand that Cheshire East Council have got significant other demands on their time, their money rather, in terms of the big ticket items they need to pay for, things such as adult social care and other issues, and that we understand that this isn't something they currently will be able to put funds towards. But we did agree ourselves, our full council, in June 2020, as a result of a member item I put forward about recreating the cycle route into Macclesfield, and particularly as part of our COVID response, because people do want to travel on foot and bicycle. The people are less keen on using public transport for fully understandable reasons. And at full council in June 2020, we agreed that, subject to a cost review, the installation of solar lighting on the Middlewood Way would be progressed and paid for by Macclesfield Town Council, as per the resolution of full council in July 2019. So as the town clerk has reported, we now do have the costings for we had costings originally of £29,880, and we've now been advised that the new cost is £32,030. So I would like us as a services committee to agree and propose to full council at the end of March that we agree to we recommend that we agree to extend the funds and go ahead with our project to relight the Middlewood Way. So I'll move that we would do that. As part of the quote we've received from Cheshire East Council Highways, they are stating that the cost now includes a levy from Cheshire East for external works, and the levy that wasn't there was no mention of a levy when we had the quote for 2019, but the levy has now reared its head, and we're being asked to pay a levy for external works of £2,372. I would argue that these aren't external works because the Middlewood Way is a Cheshire East Council path, and we're proposing to pay for the relighting of that path. So I can't see that's external works. I think that's works that we're doing to support the Cheshire East Council in terms of the funding crisis that they, like many other local authorities, are experiencing due to lack of funding from the government. So we've already just agreed that we will pursue the issue of levies through writing to the Chief Executive and the Financial Officer. So I think for now, I think we park that, because it's been over a year, well, nearly 18 months since we agreed to do this project. And it's so important that we create a lighting of the Middlewood Way. We recreate the chance to use this cycle route, a route to Tillivington School once children are able to return, students are able to return to school. So I would very much like us to put forward to full council next month that we agree to go ahead with this at the cost we've now been provided. Yes, that's all I want to say for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that proposal, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Puttick.
Thank you, Chair. Just further to say that time is very much of the, it's very important with this. And as Councillor Wilson has said, this is we're looking into the past to sort of down memory lane, exactly, sort of saying, oh, what was said and what happened. And what I just want to sort of add is the fact that this should have been sorted, and we've got it's potentially a very good chance for Macclesfield Town Council and Bollington Town Council to show that we can work together to make sure that a sort of shared asset that's used by people can be properly accessed. And just to give you an idea, that this week I've been fielding conversations with people that are talking about the connecting Presbury Parish via the Bolling Valley, and there could be sort of there could be very positive things that could come from that. Somebody was actually asking me about Goresworth and how people will be able to continue to get access to the south side of Macclesfield. And frankly, this is being held up by the lack of action on this, because I'm certainly thinking of the Eco Summit for this year as a chance to really say to the people of Macclesfield, we are progressing with some of these cycle paths, and I want to be able to say that. So I think I'm happy to second Councillor Wilson on top of that, but I wanted to add that point as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Puttick. Well, yes, I mean, this has been ongoing now for a long time, and let's hope that now we can get it moving. But we wanted it now, didn't we, in the dark nights? It looks like when we finally get it, it'll be midsummer night, and when it's the shortest time of the night and the longest daylight, which is really ironic, isn't it, that we might get it right in the middle of the summer when we really wanted it now in the winter for people. But at least if we can get it moving, then that will be great. So we've had a proposal. So all those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you. So we'll move on with that and hope to get it coming through in good order. Right, so we now are on item 9.5, which is the bike racks that Colin came to speak to us about. I just want to say, I thought it was a really excellent report, a really good report, very thorough, very well laid out, very well explained. But what I would say is that we definitely, I think, want to take this on board, but there would need to be consultation. We would have to check the feasibility of what's within the report with Cheshire East and their, their highways, and also with cross-reference with quite a few projects and plans that are all taking place and being looked at across the town centre. We've got the recovery group, we've got our own town centre strategy and regen, and of course Cheshire East has that, and they have plans. They've consulted with people on what Chestergate will look like, what Mill Street and the marketplace will look like, and what people want. So I think we have to see how this would fit within. It's a bit like a jigsaw, really, and it has to fit within all the other projects that are going on at the moment. So I think we take it on board, yes. We'll need to consult on it, and I think then we can see how it will fit in with the other proposals for the town. And I know we have received a response from Cheshire East, who have raised a number of points that we would need to look at. And obviously we have to take into consideration people who people with mobility issues, and people maybe with sight problems and so on. There's lots of different people using our town centre, and we need to make sure that everyone has their say, and we're not causing a problem at all. So there's a number of things we need to look at on this report. So that's my thoughts on it. That I think we take it back and have a look at it, and that we can't make a hard and fast decision at the moment. We would need to consider it with other proposals for the town centre. So any comments, please? Yes, Councillor Wilson, and then Councillor Puttick.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would also like to add my thanks to Colin for the effort and work he's put into preparing the document. I think it's very important that we do seek sites for cycle parking in the centre of Macclesfield. Of course, the centre of Macclesfield has only just been opened up for cyclists, because prior to the COVID situation and active travel arrangements, you weren't able to cycle through Macclesfield. So there has been a change of situation in that regard. I note the advice from Cheshire East Council, particularly in terms of the impact on pedestrians, and very much endorse. But before we progress with any new proposals to add street furniture of any kind, whether it's a bicycle rack or any other bins, benches, any other street furniture, we should be liaising with both the East Cheshire Eye Society and the Disability Information Bureau to make sure that the public space is accessible for everybody. I think that at the moment that there are well advanced plans for Castle Street in terms of the development of Castle Street, which will be taking place in the spring, and also plans for Chestergate. And I do agree that we have to deal with this, in the round. But for the Middlewood Way project, we're talking about recreating the lighting of the Middlewood Way to allow cyclists to come into town. I think the end result of that is cyclists need somewhere to park their cycles. And I was just thinking, if you look at the element of the report where Cheshire East have commented, and I agree with all the comments made by Cheshire East, the Cheshire East do actually comment that the Mill Street locations will be worth further consideration. In the report, which Colin has clearly gone to a lot of time and effort to produce, is looking at two locations on Mill Street, one near Iceland and Peacocks and one near W.H. Smith. And I do wonder whether there is some merit in us actually trying to look at those locations as a project, as a pilot project, if you like, to see how that would to test out the system we would need to go through. So I just put forward that maybe there is some merit in considering the Mill Street locations as a pilot scheme, and you know, do some consultation, see how that works. I certainly don't think we should be cutting across the plans for, say, Chestergate, Castle Street or Lower Marketplace, because I think I did go and look at some of the locations that have been suggested on my government approved exercise this afternoon, and I do agree with the assessment of the area outside the library. I think that would be a trip hazard, an area of concern. I just wonder whether we should perhaps try and look at the Mill Street locations as a pilot scheme, just to get the ball rolling and get some cycle racks in Macclesfield.
Yes, Councillor Puttett.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Colin, for your points that you raised at the beginning of the meeting. And I think I've looked at cyclemac.org, and I think the idea of sort of their cyclist led maps for the town is absolutely vital, as well as better cycle paths, and of course places to safely put your bike when you actually arrive in the town. I think that all works very well in hand with each other. I think, you know, I've received quite a number of emails about this specific point, and, you know, linked to the wider use of cycling across the town. And of course, I think that's completely, we need to think very positively. What I would suggest, quite similar to what Councillor Wilson is saying, really, is that, well, actually, I know that Colin mentioned that that we don't have to spend lots of money on them. I don't think we have to spend money on them, but I do think that combining them with the sizable amounts of money, you know, combining the plans with the sizable amounts of money that are spent on plans for, say, Castle Street is important. We need to consider it, and actually, if we can sort of integrate cycle parking into what's there already. And I agree with Councillor Wilson about the idea of looking at one specifically to prototype and to pilot and test to move forward.
Yes, Laura. Oh, sorry, Finn, was it yourself first? Did I miss you?
Laura was first.
Laura, all right, Laura, sorry.
It was just to say that when we've had conversations with Cheshire East Regen team officers, one of the things that struck me that I thought was interesting was they said Macclesfield's a quirky town, maybe have different types of cycle racks on different streets. And so it might be, you know, working with Colin and consulting maybe on what could go on Mill Street, what it could look like, that kind of thing, to take it forward, that everything doesn't have to be matchy. It might be quite nice to have something slightly different, because we're a quirky town. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Finn.
Yeah, just I think we're all agreed, aren't we, that the provision needs to be upped across the town. Just one thing that I thought we should consider is whether the CCTV visible on these cycle rack locations, and lighting as well, because obviously we want people to be able to use these later on in the evening and stuff. So yeah, I just think that's one thing we need to think about.
Okay, right, a good point there. So it seems like that's the suggestion is that we look at the two cycle racks on Mill Street as being the option for a pilot study for those, and we will put it out for consultation with the residents and Cheshire East, of course, and include Colin, you know, as the instigator. And I won't say instigator, but you know what I mean. And I think your point that you've made, Laura, about quirky, you know, some quirky stands rather than, I think Colin was wanting to be helpful and keep the cost really low. But actually with these cycle racks, 90% of the cost is what goes on under the ground. So really, we've got to spend that amount of money anyway. Let's have something different for Macclesfield, and you know, like we've got the others, the wrought iron ones around the town. You know, I think that would be all part of the theme, wouldn't it, for Macclesfield? So I think we've got a way forward there. Shall we have a sort of formal proposal? Because I think Councillor Wilson, you had your formal proposal, didn't you?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, my formal proposal would be that we thank the resident Colin for his hard work on this. The proposal has come forward. That we note that the Chestergate area and the Castle Street area are already under consideration for cycle parking provision under Cheshire East Council projects, and that we also agree, in addition, that the Town Council will look into a pilot project on the 2 Mill Street locations mentioned, ensuring that we consider the safety of pedestrians, the location, consult with local, the Eye Society, Disability Information Bureau, and then we bear in mind that we want something quirky and fitting for Macclesfield. I think that covers all the points that colleagues have made, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Councillor Puttick, are you seconding?
Happy to second that. I think the make use of the word quirky all the time. It's kind of coming up with a design suitable to the area.
Yeah, we want to be different, don't we? We're not going to be following the same old. Okay, so all those in favour of that proposal? That's good, that's unanimous, thank you. So now we look at the town centre regeneration and item 10.1, which is an update on the town centre recovery working group. So just to say that the recovery working group distributed a copy of the draft recovery plan at the beginning of the year and held an online forum on the 21st of January with the aim of engaging and gaining help with the delivery of the plan, and the forum was open to anyone in Macclesfield. Interest and engagement was fantastic, and the forum was fully booked with a waiting list. And on the night, we had 46 attendees out of the 48 booked on it, and observers, and also 10 observers, and they were mostly councillors and our local MP. And feedback since has been extremely positive. Some of the quotes are, the meeting was very well run and effective. A really positive meeting yesterday and such a strong coming together of all sorts of people. Just to say, yesterday's meetings, very stimulating and well done to Macclesfield Town Council. And the one I really liked was, I have to say that I have expressed many of these ideas at previous meetings. They have been enthusiastically received, and then, for all kinds of reasons, they disappear. But this meeting did feel different, and it looks as though things might begin to happen. And I must say, it was so positive, so energetic, and everyone that attended, just felt a real buzz and felt that we are going to achieve something here. So we are now going to be setting up working groups to take these next steps, and the actions that have been identified, we're going to take those forward. I'll just then hand over to Councillor Wilson. She's our the Macclesfield Town Council Town Centre champion, Town Centre Regeneration champion. Get the title correct. And I know that she'd like to also give an update, and she'll probably give us some more detail on the meetings and what's been happening. So over to you, Councillor Wilson.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. I think this is one of the projects that in all my political life I've been involved in that has been very rewarding and very focused and positive. I think we've come a very long way in a very short time, and I think that the the comment, particularly that you said you liked the most, I like that one too, because I do feel, having been involved in town centre regeneration projects for some time, that we really are making good progress. And as we look forward to we notice as a working group, there's lots of stuff going on already, and many of the things we're talking about this evening, you know, from EV charging points through to events in the town centre, to trails, to creating outdoor things that people can do safely post-COVID, you know, we were already getting on with. And this is a really positive arrangement where we're working with stakeholders in Macclesfield and the Cheshire East Council representatives as well. The chair's explained that we're going to be expanding out the number of groups that are working with us. We're going to be having a group on communication, a group on outdoor eating and hospitality, a community response group, and also an environment group working with the Eco Summit that's due to take place in May. We have a meeting tomorrow where we're going to finalise the draft plan, which we had some excellent comments from the participants in the event on the 21st of January, as our chair, who's also chair of the Recovery Working Group, has outlined. And I'm very much looking forward to finalising that draft plan and taking that draft plan to our full council meeting at the end of March, so that we as a town council can endorse that plan and the actions in there. We also listened on the 21st of January to people who felt there were issues that our plan hadn't covered, and we had some very good feedback on that regarding tourism, sport, the Castle Street and Chestergate regeneration, sustainable transport and markets and events, all things we've talked about this evening, all things that we've already got in our sights to take action on. So this is a really, really rewarding piece of work. And finally, I'd actually like to thank Laura and Abby and Helena for all the work they're doing behind the scenes and the working group meetings to make this happen, because this is a genuine, absolutely certain teamwork, which has certainly given me a lot of satisfaction as a councillor to be involved in. And I think we've come up with a great plan, and I look forward to us as a council endorsing that in the very near future. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Yes, it is a very positive group, and I just think we're just moving really, really quickly for a council. Anyway, shall I say? Because I know, having, as Councillor Wilson says, you know, having experienced these sort of projects in the past, oh dear, sometimes they just move at a snail's pace, and I think we've got rocket boosters under us, I think, at the moment. So yeah, well done, and thank you, yes, for everybody and all the hard work. We'll move on now to 10.2, which is the footfall mapping data. I think, Laura, yes, thank you.
Yeah, the data kind of speaks for itself. Macclesfield seem to be very good at locking down and we're under the national average. So that means we've got less footfall, which is a good thing. But what we saw over the summers when we came out of lockdown, we recovered quite quickly as well, quicker than average. So the figures are both the right way. So I think it's quite a good thing that they're so low, because it just proves that the people of Macclesfield are doing the right thing and locking down.
Thank you. And then we've got the town centre free Wi-Fi data.
Yes, again, you've got the reports on this. We're still pretty consistent with the Wi-Fi. We're still having, I think it was around, was it 500 users over this period, or per day? It's gone down to 417. So, you know, that's still quite a high number. Lots of interesting facts, like the most used time is between 2 and 3 in the afternoon. I don't know what we can do with those facts, but it's quite interesting, you know. But again, I think it'll be going forward. I think people don't know enough that we have free Wi-Fi, and we need to maybe do some more work around it with Abby as town centre manager, just looking at how maybe we can boost it when the time is right. We don't want people coming into town now to use the Wi-Fi in particular.
Okay, thank you. Item 11, transport, which is the bus service working group. At present, that's on hold, and just to report back, I've been going to the community transport working groups just to keep that contact and just to see what's happening there. And everything's on hold. All the different groups that provide community transport are all having to just put on, they're on hold. The ones that have their minibuses, the ones that have cars with their volunteer drivers. And so I just go to that meeting to really just do a sort of check with them as to an update, what's happening, and so that we will be, once we know we can start to go ahead with this, we can then start to make some plans, because we really need to know what all the other groups are doing with community transport to see where we can fit. We need to be fitting in with what else is being offered in the community. So once things open up again, we can start to move. But at the moment, it's a matter of just waiting until we can start to do something on it. So that's that item. 12, council identity and communications. So Abby, at last you've been with us all this time. Being ever so good. What is it? An hour and 3/4
Save the best for last. So yeah, just wanted to give just a brief update on communications. So since I started the role in November, we've seen from sort of the end of November towards the end of January, we've seen an increase in social media followers, particularly Facebook, of around sort of 350 people, which I think is quite a good amount. Our social media posts have been quite focused depending on where we've been in the national lockdown. So when we were able to shop before Christmas, we focused on a sort of shop local campaign, trying to support our local businesses. And then as we moved into crisis, it was more of a signposting to services that people might require during that time, citizens advice, places like that. And we've also interspersed that with quite a few sort of positive little updates from ourselves, just to keep everybody's spirits up, really. And they've been really well received. So I think we'll sort of continue doing those. Going forward, obviously, we've been very much focused on sort of social media. As we know, we're in COVID times, so it's difficult to get out and about and do leaflets and things like that. We're also, obviously, as we've previously discussed, having trouble with the notice boards, but once they're sorted, we'll get a lot more information out there for people in the community to look at when they're out and about. And we will be starting to use radio updates on Canal Side as well. So we'll take that and we'll run with that. And that's it really from me, I think.
Thank you. Well, a job well done. We've certainly seen the difference with the communications, and certainly with the Facebook page and the website, but particularly the Facebook page. So it's all over the place. But I mean, wide ranging. I mean, not it's really, really good. It's really good. And I know, I'm not particularly a social media person, but they keep popping up on my phone, so something's happening. So it's really good. Thank you very much, Abby. Councillor Wilcott.
Yeah, thank you for that, Chair. I'd just like to reiterate the points you've mentioned. I mean, obviously, since the new events and communication officers joined us at the Town Council, I've certainly seen that there's a lot more posts going on, and it's all positive things. I'm not to say that previous Town Council staff haven't done a good job, but obviously the new role also takes pressure off the staff that have been in situ already, just so that more time can be spent. So just like to thank you for the hard work, Abby, and I will continue sharing as much as I can the good work that we do as a council as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yes, have a round of applause. Yeah, that's great. Now then, I don't know whether it's at this point we discuss our notice that we have. We've always had this notice, which does tell people what Town Council does and what Cheshire East do and the different services. So I think we are just wanting to maybe confirm one or two changes to it. So I don't know if, yes, Councillor Puttick, do you want to, and then Councillor Wilson.
Sorry, Chair, did the comms officer want to speak first? Because we could do it afterwards. Just to say, really, I mean, I think that the one I've got this myself. One of the great and glorious things about this is how simple it is, and this was the. I mean, you know, it's very, very difficult for most people. I am a councillor, and I find it difficult sometimes to know the difference between Cheshire East and Mac Town Council. So I think that with these potential changes, I personally actually think that it's great as it is. Please don't get me started on what the roles of CCTV should be, and you know, the fact that we do fund CCTV and we do fund the visitor centre, and I would certainly like to see us defining that role more clearly so that we can get benefit for the public. But I think for the purpose of this comms, it's nice and clear as it is. So I personally think we keep it very short and bulleted.
Yeah, I certainly, yeah, I get your point there, like particularly with the CCTV, but as it says at the moment, funding of CCTV makes it sound as if we pay for the whole thing, whereas if we change it to contribute to the CCTV, it's subtle, it's a subtle difference, but it just, people understand then that it's not, we're not running it. I think that's the change that we're trying to bring in, is just to make a clearer understanding of what we're doing on our side of the fence, if you know what I mean. So I don't know. I think that was the idea of it, I think that was the idea was to make things just a little bit clearer for people. And also with the change to, or the addition of the fact that we are a consultee on the planning applications, which I think is definitely something we should have on there, because people have been noting that they really appreciate our planning committee and the work that we do on there. So you know, that's useful for them to know. Yes, Councillor Puttick, yes, please come back. You can probably shoot me down now for what I've been saying, but
no,
you know, I'm just trying to explain the nuance between funding and contributing.
Absolutely, Chair. And I sort of just to say that we must continue to champion being transparent, but also being dyslexia friendly and everything else. Because I might not know what the word nuance means, or I might not know. I certainly don't. I don't know what the word festoon means, because I'm just not interested in festoons. So if you put that on a leaflet, you've lost me. But I do think, for example, if we're looking at this leaflet, Christmas lights is a better thing to say than festoons, because people know what Christmas lights is. But that idea of public realm, I think it's good to say making the town attractive. That's great, because that's nice and straightforward. It's what people want. So just to say, I think it's that whole we've talked about it with signs for the town centre development, that we actually really focus on just being clear to people and being sort of dyslexia friendly.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Good point there, Councillor Puttick. Yes, Laura. Oh, hang on. I think it was yourself, Fiona, first, and then I'll come to you, Laura, after.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. I think I agree with the contribution made by both yourself and by Councillor Puttick. I think I would definitely keep it simple. I think with just going down the suggested amendments, I would keep it as Christmas lights. I think festoon is getting into sort of more technical language. I'm happy with changing to making the town attractive, because I think public realms is one of those sort of jargony words. With CCTV, I think I would say, I think I'd be inclined to say support CCTV services, which is something that, I think if we start to provide explanations for some of these things, it's going to get more complicated. I would leave tourism promotion in the visitor centre as it is. I think when you start to get into elements of how much we fund it, we do make a very generous, significant contribution to the visitor centre. So I think we're perfectly entitled to say the visitor centre. Sort of a parochial comment as a park run director. I suppose I ought to very briefly declare an interest here, but I would say park run and junior park run rather than have the brackets in, because I mean park run and junior park run are two separate things. There's lots of people involved in both, but they're both two separate identities. And then I think with the planning, I would definitely include planning, because as Councillor Jackson said, we get some very good positive remarks on that. I would just say statutory consultee of Macclesfield planning applications or something like that. Very pleased to see that libraries has been included on the Cheshire East Council list, having gone to the library with some distribution of materials in my hot little hands to be reminded that libraries were not included. So I'm very pleased that we have included them. It was a serious omission, and I'm glad we're managing to be able to correct that. But otherwise, I do feel that we need to get the balance right between explaining what each council does, but keeping it simple, as Councillor Puttiker said, that we use language that isn't jargon or technical. So those are my suggestions for the amendments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I think it might be important to look at, we've got road gritting and a suggestion that it's road and street gritting. I think it might be, I think maybe to say footpath rather than street, because the street is just another road really, whereas footpath, because I think there is some concern about the gritting of the footpaths in the town when we get the weather we're getting at the moment, particularly looking down Church Walgate, the steep roads going down to Waters Green, and it is a Cheshire East responsibility, that, but of course we're there in the town centre, in the town hall, and people come in and then say, why aren't you gritting the footpath? And in fact it's a Cheshire East responsibility. So maybe road/footpath gritting would be a good option for that one. That's just the suggestion I have. Yes, Laura. Well, you haven't switched your.
Chair, I just wanted to say just a couple of things. We could look at doing an easy read version if preferred, something that was quite simple. So Abby and I could work on something maybe behind the scenes at some point, which is suitable for, it's more visual and suitable for people with different needs. And also it's 5 to 9. I just wanted to say it's 5 to 9. So we technically have 5 minutes left unless you wish to extend by 10 minutes to finish the agenda.
Is everyone happy to extend standing orders? Yes. Yeah, we'll extend standing orders.
Want me to move something, Chair, or are you okay with?
Do we need to move something formally, Laura, or are we okay with what we've just said?
About the standing
orders?
Yes. If you just move it, Fiona, and then
I'll second it.
I therefore move that we extend standing orders to 10:15 to allow us to complete our agenda for this evening's meeting.
Okay.
Seconded.
Right. Second it. Right. All those in favour? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So just going back on to this to the notice. Abby, have you any comments on what we've suggested? Are you okay with that? And
yes, Chair, I'm happy with those, so I'll get those changes made.
Yeah, and obviously what was suggested about an easy read option. Thank you. Right, thank you then for that. I don't think we need to formally agree the changes. I think everyone's happy with, yeah, I think we're all happy on that. Okay, so then we move on to item 13, environment, future forest. Helena, yes, if you introduce this one.
Thank you, Chair. I'll introduce it. I think perhaps Councillor Wilson may want to speak on this because I know she's been quite involved with this project. I'm aware that the Planning Committee of the Town Council are moving this forward, and they're holding a meeting with the developers of the King School site to explore the potential for tree planting on that site.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thanks very much. I mean, this is a project that originally was started for us by Councillor Puttick, who moved the original proposal to have a future forest for Macclesfield to plant a tree for every cow born in Macclesfield. And there's nothing wrong with being an opportunist. And last year, when we were attending the Strategic Planning Board, an opportunity arose for us to make a proposal to create part of the future forest on the public access land for the planning application for the King's School site on Pence Avenue. Helen has just reported that there have been some developments on this, and very quickly, in view of the time, I just simply wanted to add that we do have 2 meetings in the diary, as you know, Chair, as a member of the Planning Committee. On the 8th of March, we're meeting with the various people to plan for the future, the forest for the future projects in the public open space. And on the 16th of March, we've got a meeting about the opening of the Canal Bridge 36 to give access from the new development on Pence Avenue to the canal. And I only went on Sunday and visited it, have another look at it to remind myself it's my favourite canal bridge, and we're going to get it opened as soon as we possibly can. So we are making good progress through that, and it has been great to use the opportunity of the planning arena to be able to make some progress, and we'll be able to report back at a future meeting about how that is going. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Yes, Councillor Puttick.
Just very quickly, Chair. Yeah, just thanking the officers and Councillor Wilson, and the Planning Committee for really moving forward with this. And of course, realise the scale of this when if you actually visit the maternity services at the hospital, quite how many children are born in the Macclesfield area and how many trees would be needed. But just to say, I think that I think it's really good that the Planning Committee is looking at this and building it into their sort of their working, and really I will continue to sort of approach organisations such as United Utilities, National Trust and others just to talk about the fact that we need trees, and just that from my final point really, from the flooding that happened in the last few weeks, an awful lot of people, especially on the south side of Macclesfield, which can be boggy at certain times of year, just the need for flood spaces and flooded forests, woodland, to really factor that into the future. That there's it can't be all development around the edges of the town of Macclesfield. We have to look at green spaces and woodland spaces, and we should be part of that.
Yep, thank you for that, Councillor Puttick. Right, so we'll move on to item 14, which is the equality impact assessments. Yes, Laura.
This report has been submitted by the admin and governance manager, and it's simply a proposal to build a framework of equality impact assessments. It would be of varying levels of depth. So, for example, something, if we were doing a huge event, it may be a smaller equality impact assessment than something that a service that we might last for years and years. So she would, the framework will be written in the office by the officers, and then it will go to full council once finished for ratification.
Thank you. Okay, so we have 2 recommendations. I'm happy if anyone wants to discuss this, but I think it's all very clear. So I think I just need a mover for items 1 and 2. We'll take them together. Councillor Wilson? Yes, are you moving them? Councillor Puttick, you're seconding? Okay, so all those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. Thank you very much for that. So we then have correspondence. I don't believe there is any correspondence.
No correspondence, Chair, no.
And then we have members' items, point 16. And this is an item that I'd like to raise. So I'll just read it out to you. I'd like to request that the Town Council consider giving freedom of the town to all those amazing, caring and brave doctors and nurses working in the ICU at Macclesfield Hospital. It is hard to put into words the self-sacrifice that they have made for all of us, and we must not let it go unrecognised or unappreciated. I cannot think of a better use of the granting of the freedom of the town than to these very special people. I know that there are lots of other amazing stories across the borough and in the hospital, but these are a special group of people who have taken commitment and dedication to a different level. I can't think of a better use of freedom of the town to recognise people in what is our equivalent of the Great Wars. So I don't know how you feel about it and if you would support that. Yes. And my thoughts on it are that we could do something, we've got enough time that we could do something for the 5th of July, which is the NHS Day. And if we can have some form of event, even if it's something online, or I mean, I don't know how we can work it and what have you, but we'd make inquiries at the hospital to get names from the hospital. We would leave it obviously with the people there to name their heroes. And but I thought it would be I think it would be a really good thing, and because people are so grateful for the people working in the ICU, and I think the town would feel proud about it too. Okay, so do you want a formal vote on it, or do we need that, Laura?
Yes, yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So you've heard my proposal.
I'll second, Chair.
Thank you. So all those in favour? Yes, that's unanimous. Thank you ever so much.
Well done, Chair.
We'll get that moving. Yeah. Okay. Right. So then, final item is just date, time, and place of the next meeting. So the next services will be at 7 o'clock on the 12th of April, probably still on Zoom. Okay, and thank you, everybody. I think it's been a really good meeting. I think I think we've quite enjoyed it. It's been really positive. There's been so much to share with the community out there. So it's great. Right, well, thank you very much, and see you next time.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.